to just talk about what I've been learning recently. Or not even learning, but just what I've been thinking about. I mean, kind of learning, but what I've been thinking about recently as I've been continuing to take this rest break from my dog care business, taking a step back to a more sustainable pace. Um, what I've been realizing is that I feel so burnt out on this topic of, like self-improvement and like this sense of like excavating and doing surgery on my soul and on the way that I think, and being so hyper focused on it as I have been for the past few years, and as I had to be hyper focused on it because I had panic attacks, and I had extreme, just like I guess kind of like OCD type thoughts of shame and guilt and PTSD type flashbacks. Because of this, it's become kind of a normal to me that I guess it's like you get lost in the sauce where you become the fish in the fishbowl and you forget how wet it really is. So that is what I have kind of done over the past few years, but especially the past 7, 8, however many years since I got out of homelessness and since I stopped using all substances, and I had changed around my lifestyle gradually, but also extreme changes within that time period. Um, it's a lot. It's a lot, and I don't know. I've been just trying to think of things in terms of how can I take a rest from the type of things of like trying to push myself further or trying to like improve myself. So that isn't my focus, but my focus is still just like how can I love myself more? Like how can I feel nicer? How can I feel just warmer, and like the colors of being alive are coming into the picture. So that's for me that's been looking like the most consistent kind of thing I've been doing has been just like, especially when I feel overwhelmed or I feel kind of sick, physically or just like mentally. By mentally sick, I mean like it is kind of a physical sickness, but I just feel like my mind is exhausted, like looping, and it's hard to like stop it or to just like feel like I can feel like everything's okay, and just relax. The biggest change I've noticed for me has been just regularly reminding myself, like, you're good. I'm here. Like, I'm here. Having that part of me that I guess is like the, you could say like the loving adult or whatever, the parent, that part of me, just like talking to those parts of me that are most dominant at the moment, that are scared, and just being like I have you, I love you, I'm here for you, like we're okay, like you're still sacred in this moment. This moment is still sacred and perfect and beautiful, even if you're feeling a little off. And through feeling a little bit more calm and saying that, I'm able to at least suffer less in the moment. It's not like a long-term change, and I mean in the sense that it's not sufficient to solve like long-term issues that cause me pain, cause me suffering, but it is enough to at least give myself a little bit more leverage when it comes to having more energy, conserving my energy, and cultivating more good feelings, like empowered, strong, safe feelings, so that I can have more opportunities or more hope to get into a better situation where there are more resources coming in that can help my stress, where there is more control over my environment, over the ways I have to use my energy, over. I mean, this is the part that I tend to forget also, but the part of fun where, yes, control is important, it's crucial, it's necessary to be able to have fun. Control is beautiful and safe and healthy, all those good things. But next to, I'm trying to figure out, like, how can I have fun with things besides, like, only seeing good and fun in terms of control, I'm just trying to be like, what is a way that I can, or what are all the ways just in my day-to-day life that I can enjoy just being. I can just enjoy being alive, um, without having to make it be about, like, yay, I feel good because I'm controlling the shitty things, and the shitty things are so apparent and there and big. But I'm at least making lemonade out of lemons by being like, I can at least feel good, like I'm in control. I'm like, I don't really want to have that much control. I don't want to focus so much, like, having my whole sense of play and feeling good being based on controlling bad things. I just want less bad things. Bad things for me, because we all have different versions of bad things, different definition of bad things, depending on what's compatible and authentic for us based on where we are in our life at that moment and just our individual unique strengths and limitations. So, whew, you know, I have been noticing relaxation and rest come into my life lately also by just being like, I can, you know, not feel like I'm not putting these pressures on myself so much. Like, I have to have a very strict schedule. I have to wake up at the same time every day and do the routine perfectly, and putting that kind of dictatorship of performance on myself, even within my home and just at all moments of my life. I'm not, I'm just like listening more to my sense of pleasure. I've been listening to Janet Jackson's song Janet Jackson's song Pleasure Principle also. I've been listening to her whole album Control in general. So it's a really good album. I never listened to Janet Jackson really before, but I've been listening to her lately and I love it. But the pleasure principle, like, I haven't read the lyrics to the song, so I can't speak to if I'm interpreting her meaning exactly, but just in general, that idea of, like, the pleasure principle, like, defining my personal principles and standards for myself based on pleasure. And I'm realizing, like, after, I lost a sense of trust in myself, in the world, in everything, because when I was younger, the only senses of pleasure that I was able to recognize, or that I had the opportunities to be aware of, was chemical substance pleasures, and the pleasure of following a fantasy ungrounded by stability, you know, just following a pure fantasy, curiosity, overabundance of freedom kind of thing. It is kind of that youthful story in general, and it sucks, when you have a young person who is brought up to, who's harmed by adults and can't trust adults, and who is isolated from safe relationships, and just not taught to value themselves and to connect with people based on mutual love, and they become isolated. That was me, and that was very much like, it wasn't that I was experimenting and having fun and curiosity that was bad. It was that I didn't have any safe I wasn't even raised with the ability to understand safe boundaries for myself, or to have like safe practical values. you know I was just always surviving, and I didn't realize what the depths of suffering that can happen, the depths of panic attacks and physical pain, and your health and your youth going out the window, which I've gained a lot of health back, but my health was really bad for a few years. And whew, you know through my own lessons, I've learned how important it is to value your health. And I do have anger that I wasn't raised to value these things when I was younger, so that I could have prevented myself from getting PTSD and brain damage, and like illnesses to my body that can't ever be reversed, and all these things that have made me disabled, differently abled. um I really don't believe I was differently abled. I mean, we're all differently abled, but I wasn't disabled when I was younger. Like, I became disabled as a result of all the traumas that I've been through since my early 20s. Well, late teens included. Like, that set the groundwork. Some things that happened in my teens and um late teens, but it's crazy, and I'm grateful that I'm able to remember the way that everything unfolded, to have this sense of cause and effect, and to help my values be aligned with my own life experiences. I'm grateful for that. But yeah, and I don't want to go too much in that. I think it's important, but at the same time, like, I am just trying to focus more on lightheartedness, and if I do think about like self-improvement, self-change, trying to use my energy to change my trajectory a little bit. I'm really trying to go for much smaller changes that simply feel good. The pleasure principle, like, it feels good in the moment. And that is the way that these changes will be sustainable, and I'll know that, like, I'm ready for it at that time. And whether or not something feels good also has to do with my abilities in the moment to nurture myself. But I am very much guarded against the idea of nurturing myself for the purpose of continuing to play along with other people's desires, making sure that I'm using this skill of mine to adapt to do things that I want to do, instead of just adapting myself to do things that other people want me to do, whether or not I want to do them. Or. So yeah, that's just what's been on my mind lately. I don't want this to get too long. And yeah, I hope that rest for you is beautiful and lovely, and that this has been helpful for you in some kind of way. And yeah, keep resting. Resting is resilient. Okay, and resting comes in so many different forms. That's something I've been really learning about the different forms of rest. All right, take care. Bye.